All right, so we got the best looking guy in the
Stop it.
place. See, I made sure we had a holding mic, not a headset.
The most tired looking guy right now. I'm not the best looking guy.
I wanted to make sure we didn't ruin that.
I
Look at this
appreciate
guy's
it.
hair. It's unbelievable.
I
how this
actually
guy's
walked in
hair-
with a
NBC
hat
production.
today. They are good to me. I was
All right.
on my own today, but they are really good to me.
2 questions. Who does your hair? Who cuts your hair? And do you put any product in your hair? Because I need some tips.
I'm the only one that does it. Just because it's literally it's just I put a little wax in my hands and just 1 or 2 swipes through. I do have a newer barber since I moved to Westchester, and he's been awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, shout out to my guy Isaac.
Where in Westchester? I'm from Westchester.
He's in Terrytown.
Okay.
I live in Sleepy Hollow.
Nice.
And he's been awesome. So I don't trust a lot of human beings with my hair, to be honest with you. It takes a little breaking period. I feel like the same people cut my hair for many, many years until I move and have to find a new barber. So I've been really lucky.
So 10th pick in the draft. Obviously, tackle has been the talk of every single Jets mock for the majority of them. But you've opened my eyes to Brock Bowers at 10.
He's pretty good.
And listen, it reminds me of that Bengals meme where it's like, if there's no one to block, how are we going to get the ball to a guy like Brock Bowers and Garrett Wilson? But if they address offensive line through free agency, which there's a pretty good crop of players in free agency, is Brock Bowers on the table at 10? And what % chance do the Jets take him?
Yeah, because he's just such a good player, right? And this is definitely a regime that we've seen them in the past really hone in on best player available at times, right? And I'll be the first to say it. I never thought they would have taken Sauce Gardner that year in the top 5. And I know when they went through their meetings and their evals, rightly so, they fell in love with the kid. And he's been a superstar in New York. But I think that wasn't a time where, obviously you could argue the Jets needed corners, but you didn't come out of the year before that saying, God, they're dreadful at corner. Like this year we look at it and we're like, they were pretty dreadful on the offensive line last year. And they were hurt, but there was also really poor performance. And I think some of that is coaching. Some of that is the lack of overall talent. And then some of that, of course, was the injury factor. But I do think they're in a spot where, because Aaron Rodgers is back there, he's a guy that you need to protect him. He's 40 years old. You want to protect him. I think also, more importantly, you want to run the ball, right? You think if Rodgers is healthy, you're going to be closing out games, not playing from behind all the time.
Right.
So it's easy to even think away from the BPA approach and go, they need offensive linemen. But you have to raise the scenario that, let's do hypotheticals, right? Which is dangerous this time of year. But say you think ABT is going to play a tackle spot, right? And you go into free agency and say, hypothetically, you got one of Tyron Smith or Mike Onwenu. Tyron's left tackle. Onwenu's a right tackle and plays right guard. Okay, well, say hypothetically it's Tyron. He's playing left tackle. ABT could play right tackle. Okay, we have Joe Tippmann. We feel good about that. We're also going to go roll out some money for Kevin Dotson or one of the top interior offensive linemen. And then this is a great offensive line class. Maybe you think you can go find a starter in the 3rd round for guard where you have the luxury of taking Brock Bowers at 10, a wide receiver at 10. These are hypotheticals and small examples, but with the draft, you never rule out the small examples. So if you fall in love with a player, you think Brock Bowers is going to be a top 3 tight end in the NFL. And, I showed him his snap counts. I was like, people call you a tight end, but I don't think that does you justice.
He's a weapon.
He played wide receiver. He played in the slot. He played on the line of scrimmage. He played in the backfield. He played special teams. Todd Monken was there for 2 of his first 2 years. Monken's obviously in the NFL now.
Mm-hmm.
They schemed the offense around this kid because, like you said, he's a weapon. He's great with the ball in his hands. He's great without the ball in his hands. I think the blocking is really coming along on the move. So I'm with the George Kittle comparisons. I really am.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's a special player.
Let me ask you a quick question. So how do you rank after, let's say, Alton Fashanu, 1A, 1B?
Yeah.
I like Fashanu more, honestly.
Okay.
I think he's a better pass protector.
I think he is
Prototypical
more
left
gifted
tackle.
in that area.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like his lean. I like the way he sets. I just prefer him over Alt because, I want to protect Aaron. How do you feel after Alton Fashanu, Connor? What do you think? How do you rank Latham, Fuaga, Guyton, Mims? Where do you kind of rank these guys, and what do you think the Jets could potentially do if those 2 first tackles go off the board?
So I have it all in Fashanu, or no-brainer top 10 picks, right? And then after that, I actually have Fatanu from Washington.
Interesting. He's getting a lot of love this week.
Yes, he is, and it's about time. I mean, this guy played on a team that went to the Natty, and he was the left tackle. And Jets fans can really familiarize themselves with him by thinking of Elijah Vera Tucker. Elijah Vera Tucker played left tackle at USC. He was great at left tackle. Everybody did the projection to guard, which was fine. He's a really good guard. But when he played tackle for the Jets, he looked really good at tackle, both sides. And I think with Fatanu, and I literally just talked to him before I came over here to you guys, I asked him, I was like, I think you could play tackle. You're getting projected to guard a lot. And he's great dude, classic. I'm going to do what's best for the team. He goes, I think I can play tackle too. So if you're confident in him holding up a tackle, I mean, to me, you could justify taking him in the top 15 easily. But we'll see where he lands, like position-wise.
Latham. I think Latham's awesome.
You like Latham a lot.
I love Latham.
I have some concerns. So
what are they?
Okay, so we'll go to Latham, who's probably tackle 6 for me right now.
Tackle 6?
Yeah, and more like top of the second round. With Latham, number one, he's massive, which helps in the run game. He can really redirect. He can really move people. I love when he gets his hands on people. It's different, right? I think in pass pro sometimes he does not bring his feet with him and he gets caught lunging. And I think Fuaga does this too, by the way.
I agree with that.
They're both right tackles.
That's why I don't like Fuaga as much as most people.
But I think it happens to Latham where you can cross their face. And Latham, what people are not diving into, as good as he has really good tape, a lot of really good tape, and he has some bad tape like everyone. He had a lot of penalties in college.
He did.
And that to me is signaling a guy that is not trusting his base in his pass sets, and it's only going to get quicker in the NFL. And I thought the Michigan game, what surprised me the most is when he got rushed. They rushed through him. Because when you're 360 with hands like his, I don't think you should be able to rush through him. So he's a good player. I don't want this to come off as that like Latham's a day 3 player for me. I just look at this tackle class. It's really, really good. And I have some overall concerns for his floor that I don't have for the other guys.
Interesting.
So let's talk about the ideal Jets draft. And the ideal Jets draft would have been losing the Washington game and picking one of Joe Alt or Marvin Harrison. But that's the
Jets.
It's
classic Jets every year. Yep.
So they obviously are picking at 10, but their next pick isn't until pick 72. So you need to hit on 10, and that needs to be a slam dunk pick.
Yeah.
Do you think it goes tackle and then maybe a receiver?
Yeah, I do.
So who would be those 2 guys with those 2 picks?
Right. So 10, let's just set the odds, right? Alt being there.
Slim to none.
Slim to none. Slim to none. I mean, I think he goes in the top 10, top 9 before the Jets, but I still wouldn't set it at 0. You never do that in the draft.
Yeah.
We'll set it at 5%. Fashanu, like a true 50-50. A true 50-50. I think Fashanu is a guy that because the run blocking has not caught up, that some teams won't value him compared to how some others do, right? Like think of, this is what's interesting with Tennessee. Say Alt goes really early and then Tennessee, who needs a tackle, is there at 7. Well, Bill Callahan is there working for his son, Brian, right now. I mean, when you look at what Bill's done with the Jets in 2010, with the Browns recently, like those are teams that run the heck out of the football. So Fashanu, as great as he is as a pass protector, if you don't believe in his run blocking ability yet, maybe you look at it one of 2 ways. One, we're going to develop it because that's what we do and we'll value him. 2, we actually don't value him the same way as other teams do. So that's why Fashanu could make it to the Jets. Then my third guy that I think they would take is Fuaga, a true right tackle. He's a beast. He's the best run blocker in the draft. You cannot rush through him. His anchor, he's so strong. But as we talked about with him and Latham, you can cross their face. You could beat them inside. I'd like to give him a little help. I'm not saying you just staple a tight end next to him, but you can't leave him on an island right away. He needs some time. So I think at 10, that's how I'd set the odds. I've put Fuaga the highest chance. Maybe they surprise us and they take a Fatanu, who I really, really like. Maybe not. And then you get to that pick 72, you said, right, in the 3rd round. I love the wide receiver board there. I mean, somebody really good is going to fall into your lap that shouldn't be there. But because of this draft at wide receiver, I have 14 in the top 75.
Wow.
14.
Wow.
I mean, so let's think about it. The Jets really needed somebody last year that could separate across from Garrett Wilson. I feel like nobody could run away from anybody. And the Lazard signing is a big part of that. It didn't go well. I mean, you have maybe Roman Wilson from Michigan, maybe Ricky Pearsall from Florida, maybe Ladd McConkey from Georgia, maybe Jalen Polk from Washington.
Maybe Baker from UCF too.
And he's rising right now. I would actually think a month ago, Baker would be kind of that guy like with one of the 4th rounders the Jets have, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, and he's somebody that when we did our initial wide receiver rankings on the Stock Exchange podcast, we did the top 15s. I actually didn't even get to him yet. I watched about 18 to 20 wide receivers, and now he'll be in the next phase when we finalize it. Because doing this job now, you watch 40 wide receivers a year, sometimes 50. It's just the nature. It's 7-on-7. Every kid's playing wide receiver. They're really good. So, yeah, that's a great name to throw out there because of his process.
Connor, you know who I love? I love Jacob Cowing out of Arizona. I think as a slot receiver, I think for us, he'd be perfect.
Another guy gets open.
He gets open.
He
finds himself open in space.
Yep.
He's like Amon-Ra. Listen, he doesn't have necessarily the attributes that you're looking for.
He's small. That's what's going to hurt him. He'll be a day 3 guy, but I like the value of that. And that's the kind of guy you think of it, right? Say they don't roll out the bag for a free agent, which I'm very alone on this. I don't want the Jets to come out of free agency and just give Calvin Ridley $65 million. Like, I think there's more advantageous avenues to solving that. I would be happy if they spent $100 million on offensive linemen in free agency. But why not go into this draft, right? 2 4s, and you probably know the numbers of where they pick, but you said 72 in the 3rd round. say you take a wide receiver in the 3rd round and then take another one of the 4s. Why not? And if you can, Frankie, you can switch up what kind of receiver you're taking. Maybe you took a guy that you like his inside-outside versatility, or you just like him on the outside. But then in the 4th round, we're going to go take Jacob Cowan. We're going to take a guy that's going to play in the slot. And then we have depth at the slot because we have Xavier Gibson, who we love on specials, and we're developing. We're going to take another young kid. Slot receivers get hurt a lot. I mean, we see that a lot. So the Jets... it drives me nuts that they don't do this. They should be doubling up on the positions like wide receiver and
we haven't done that in so long, man. And you're paying them virtually nothing as a rookie receiver.
And look at the hit rate. I mean, it's easy to go back last year and be like, oh, Puka Nacua. But it's not just Puka Nacua. Jaden Reed was really good for Green Bay last year. There's good receivers.
Tank Dell.
Oh, my God. Tank Dell was phenomenal before he got hurt. So, yeah, I'd like to see their philosophies change a little bit this year.
Let's dive into the New York freaking Jets. They're driving me nuts, dude. Robert Saleh finally arrived today, right?
I can't confirm. I haven't seen him.
Yeah, we woke up a little late today. You know how Indy hits you too, so maybe we almost didn't show up today.
Good for you guys. I put Scotch tape on my eyelids and walked in the hotel.
Honestly, it's crazy. Last night we actually saw Mike Vrabel, Mickey Loomis.
Everybody's out and about.
We tried to recruit him.
Indy is that life.
Yeah? I saw Mickey Loomis last night. You know what I said to him? I go, hey, what's up, Mickey? Like, what's up, man? I'm Frankie. He's like, oh, Mickey. I'm like, oh, I know who you are. I'm like, good luck this offseason. He's like, looked at me like, go screw yourself. So I'm $80 million over the cap. You piece of shit.
No, did you actually mean that?
But yeah, let's speak about the Jets really quick. How dysfunctional do you think the Jets are at this moment? Like, we're panicking as fans. The media's going nuts.
Yeah.
Everyone's, trying to make a storyline out of everything. How do you feel about this current team? And are we as dysfunctional as some fans think?
Well, I think they have a really good chance to kind of, set the calm, right? And what I mean by that is there are so many things that should go their way if they operate in the right path this offseason. What I mean by that is Aaron Rodgers is back. When you listen to Aaron Rodgers speak and the way he pulls in teammates and coaches, I mean, it's really cliche, but he is the glue that holds everything together. And he's back. He's all in. You can really buy back the faith and morale of the fan base. And what I mean by that is, okay, Rodgers is going to be back. That's a given. But go get insurance for him, whether that's Jacoby Brissett or whoever it is, so that if we can't look at this as, what if Aaron Rodgers tears his Achilles again? Like, no, that's not how you operate. It's really, what if Aaron Rodgers gets banged up? What if he sprains his ankle? What if he bangs his thumb on a helmet again? Is he
going to start 17?
No, I'll say no. Like, realistically, let's say the over-under of games he's going to miss is 3.5. So let's say he misses 4 games. Who is someone that
I'm scared even thinking about
can get us to 2-2 throughout that stretch? You need that guy. So go out and get that guy. And there's options: Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett. I'm a little cooler on Tannehill. I know he has the familiarity with the staff. And Tannehill was underrated during his time at Tennessee, but I think his body is starting to fail him. Yeah. So that'd be number one. Number two, you need to sign 2 starters on the offensive line. I don't care what it costs. That's not up to people like us, right? Like, that's not my checks to cash. I know people, obviously spend a lot of money on season tickets. The people that show up and watch this team deserve to watch a team that's going to make the playoffs, because it's been too long. Last time the Jets made the playoffs, I was in college.
I was 11 years old.
Right. And I wasn't a senior in college. I wasn't a junior in college. I wasn't a sophomore in college. I was a freshman in college. So, and now I'm 32 years old covering the draft for NBC. Like, that's a lot of time. So I think that buying back the fan base, and when I say buying back, just really being rewarded with their faith, it takes a lot of work and right decisions. And I think it starts with free agency. I think they didn't do themselves any favors with the lack of coaching moves this offseason. And I know they made switches at position, like assistants.
Minor changes, though. But not the shakeup I feel like we needed.
It felt like, I'm trying to think of the phrase I'm trying to think of here. But like, it really was just, to put out the statement that they made those changes. But what is actually changing in the offense? What's changing is they're hoping Aaron Rodgers comes back and that he's Superman. And I think that disappointed a lot of the fans. And I think they're justifiably, on their best day, skeptical of it. So I think that you need to put out a better roster offensively, which starts on the offensive line. And then you go to the draft. And I mean, you need to be able to do your homework. And I'm not, any of us dopes could sit there at 10 and take the best tackle, right? Whether you think that's Latham, any of us can do that. But you need to hit on one of these picks round 3 and on. I mean, you need a starting wide receiver with one of these picks round 3 and on. So, they need to have a higher hit rate in every aspect of making this roster better.
So listen, I'm more of a glass half full kind of guy, and this is a 7.
We need more of those around here.
We do. Yeah, we don't have enough in this fan base, and I know you got to run soon. So I want to get a record prediction, because a 7-win team with a championship level defense, which will likely be due for some regression, but if you improve the offense a little bit, you can compensate with that. What's your record prediction for this season? And give me the ceiling and the floor. So give me a best case and a worst case scenario.
So it's really tough to do before free agency in the draft because I'm somebody that I believe in my draft rankings. So I will tell you what I think is going to happen to you if, and I have my misses like everyone else. I have my hits. I loved the Lions draft last year. Loved the Lions draft. And the Lions,
which a lot of people gave a lot of criticism for.
Killed him.
Immediately after.
Killed him. I thought Gibbs was easily a top 20 player. I thought Jack Campbell was easily a first rounder. And they should have went to the Super Bowl, really, when you look at it.
They should have.
And obviously, I have plenty of misses as well. So it's tough to give a true record. I'll just lay it out like this. If they actually go to free agency and sign 2 high-end starters on the offensive line and set themselves up into the draft where they can go get that final piece on the offensive line with the 10th overall pick, and they actually invest in wide receiver, and they actually invest in backup quarterback, right? Then I think there's enough there that they're a team that makes the playoffs. Do I think they win the division? I'm not ready to say that. 10 wins, 11 wins, what gets you into the back-end seeding from 5 to 7, one of those seeds. That's what I like. I think they can win a playoff game. Absolutely. Because you have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers can be ready to roll for the playoffs. And then you asked me what the worst case scenario is. I mean, let's be real.
I think we saw it.
We already saw it. He gets hurt again. Now, let's be fair. There's a big difference of who they'll have out there as a backup, we think, next year versus what they rolled out this year. A calamity of quarterbacks this year that was, maybe the worst trio of backup quarterbacks in the league. So, but you're right. You're right about the regression. You can't bank on a defense being that good every year. Bryce Huff might not be a Jet next year.
Yeah.
And Bryce Huff is an impactful player. So when all is said and done, I mean, there's a world where the Jets win 7 games. There's a world where the Jets win 10 to 11 games. A lot of it is based on health variance. But a lot of it, too, will be based on what they do these next couple weeks.
Connor, let's get a hot take for free agency. I'm a big free agency guy. I think the combine's a little bit too much. These guys are all running around in, T-shirts and shorts. I wish I could look as good as these guys. I got to lose a few pounds, but hey, it is what it is. How do you feel about free agency? I want a hot take from you. Who do you think the Jets could potentially target in free agency?
I think they'll be all over the offensive line market more than the receiver market. I think that they'll give Tyron Smith a call. He's going to have a lot of suitors, so it's not like, Tyron Smith to the Jets. I mean, there's a lot of good teams are going to call Tyron Smith. I think they'll give Tyron Smith a call.
Is he going to be available, you think? Because I know he's very close
right before we sat down.
As we speak.
I think it was
I think
Ian Rappaport said unlikely to return to the Cowboys. Or
really?
I believe getting a call from I got to do my last interview with Zach Frazier.
You're good.
Yeah.
But here's your take. I think they sign a starting guard, and I think they try to get a starting tackle, 2 offensive linemen, pretty big money deals in free agency.
Let's go. Our guy Connor Rogers, the
thank
man.
you for the time, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it.
All right, see you soon, man.